Welcome. This is Doc Dunce podcast. I'm Big Reef, my right-hand man, partner in crime, birthday boy, 44 years. We call him Barack Obama years. Big Rob, what's going on, good brother?
What's good, brother? Yo, I feel like we was just here 2 days ago.
We literally were. It's kind of weird because this morning, I should say this afternoon, after my afternoon nap, for people that know, I take a nap every day at 2 o'clock. Just to kind of, you know, revitalize the cells and rejuvenate the body. But I woke up and I was paranoid. I'm like, oh man, it's time. I got to do the show. I got to get my stuff together. And it was like 5:30. I mean, I had plenty of time, but just the fact that, like I said, we did it the other day, but the other day was more, you know, more fun as today we get back to, you know, doing doc business. You know what I'm saying? So,
definitely.
But how was your day? Let's start with that first. 44 years. How was your day? So
that actually has been the question of the day today for me. People hit me up, ask me, how was your birthday? Would you do whatever like that? And the one word that comes to mind, well, not the word that comes to mind, but the word I use most was different.
Okay.
Because I always make a big deal for my birthday. I always say this is, you know, August is my birthday month. I'm celebrating 1 to 31.
And one of them people.
Yeah, I'm one of them people. So this was the first year. I am going to make a big deal about my birthday, but I didn't make a big deal about it yesterday. That was more about me kind of revisiting my past, revisiting, you know, for lack of better terms, some demons from my past or whatever that I kind of shoveled under the carpet for years. So it was different because, you know, I went to go see my father's gravesite for the first time since he passed, and in so many words, have a conversation with him, or just release some stuff that I had been holding on for a long time. So I walked away. I went not knowing what I was going to feel like or what to expect, and I walked away actually feeling very good. And even though he wasn't there with me physically, it felt like I had a conversation with him, and I gave myself the chance to say some things. So it was cool. But you know, only thing I did to actually celebrate or acknowledge it was go bowling last night. But I got some plans. I was supposed to go play golf today, didn't do it.
It's raining, dog. It's raining. You ain't gonna be on them links. It's raining.
Yes. Saturday I got some plans. I'm gonna get my golf in at another point, do some other activities. So
we got some days left. Saturday. We got some plans Saturday.
Exactly.
All right.
I know we wanted to tell the people all that.
No, we ain't gonna tell people. I'm just saying, you know, we're gonna be hanging out. Yeah. But I want to say this too on another note. Yo, I give you mad respect and props. I know we discussed it in a few episodes back, but also just discussed it throughout our friendship, and especially as fathers, trying to parent that, you know, I know you had, you've always stressed the part that you wanted to be a better father than what you had as far as, you know, with your father, of course, and not to, you know, put it like that. I don't want to sound like insensitive, but I know that, you know, in you doing that, you know, I commend you. I give you mad props, man. And you know, that's a lot of things. That's some things that a lot of brothers may not be able to do, or whatever. So I definitely give you props on that, whatever the case be. All right. So what else we got going on?
So, you know, this is August. It's actually you know, they do national, whatever this month, national that it's Black Business Month. I believe we got favorite sandwich day or something coming up. Right. But August is also the official back to school month for kids, and how our country looks at that. And being as though it's officially back to school month, I had a minute to reflect on a former student of mine. So if you don't mind, I want to dedicate this episode to a young man that touched my heart many years ago, and he still is to this day. He is to this day. Unfortunately, this young man, his life was cut short about 3 or 4 years ago. When I used to teach in Orange, New Jersey, I taught a young man by the name of DAVON Jones. Rest in peace to him. Rest in peace. Well, you know, I want to give a shout out to his mother because she's a strong woman. Books over books. Books over boots, man, is the hashtag that, you know, they started in honor of him. And
wait,
he definitely
say the hashtag again, nice and clear, so the people can hear you.
Books over boots. Books or boots. I'm sorry.
Books or boots is the hashtag.
Yes.
All right, people. Yes. Books or boots is the hashtag for the young man that lost his life. Go ahead, continue on, brother.
Yeah, and this man had his whole life ahead of him. Like I kept in touch with him after I was no longer teaching, after I had already moved to Philly, and we were starting a mentor process. And then his mom called me one day and let me know what happened. She asked me to speak at his funeral. I was honored to do that. And man, I've seen a lot of death in my life. From the time I was young to the time I was older, and I think the amount of times that I've cried over losing people was less than 5, because I saw it at such a young age, so I handled death differently. But that one really broke my heart, man, and I lost it, over him. But, to this day, he stays on my heart. And, I just really want to dedicate this episode to him and, his mom. And, I want to keep his legacy alive, so.
Well, listen, man, there's nothing else more that I can say. Definitely we'll dedicate the episode to him. And not only to him and his legacy, but for the work that you want to do going forward in honor of his name. So, but like you said, we are back to school. I know we have a lot of information we're going to touch on tonight, with our episode as far as our difficult decisions, school life and COVID-19, and talking about, this whole situation as far as us going back to school, or sending students back to school, and teachers and administrators. I mean, this is a big, if you want to put sphere in which we are definitely kind of dealing with. One of the things that I will say is I just watched a special on NBC, and the special discussed, the fears, the politics, the adjustments. And one of the things, and here's the thing, and I'm not trying to make light of this. I'm not trying to make light of this, but I do want to say this. One of the things that, although I'm not in the classroom anymore, one of the things that I would always look forward to as an educator, and I know the kids would look, or I should say as a kid, I would look forward to is back to school, is school shopping. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Fresh haircut. You know what I'm saying? The first day of school, you got your fresh outfit on. Like, you can't do that in a virtual order. Like, I'm going to get dressed up, throw on my brand new sneakers, my brand new uniform polo shirt, like most districts, you know what I'm saying, in the city, they wear uniforms to go sit in front of a computer. So it's like, those little things, man, like the first day of school, some parents, they'll stay home and they'll make their kids' favorite breakfast and things of that nature. So it's the little things like that I think people even
walking your kids to school.
Walking their kids to school, I mean, that's like, here's the thing. Kids are excited 2 days out the year. The first day of school and the last day of school. Teachers are excited it's the same way. First day of school, the last day of school. Everything in between is just work. You know what I'm saying? It's just trying to make it, So, but in all seriousness, in all honesty, man, we want to, we definitely going to tackle it. Hey, we got some people that's been waiting patiently. We doing our intros and all like that, but I definitely, we want to get right to the nitty gritty because here on the Doc Dunce podcast, we want to give the people the raw, the relevant, and the real. So let's just get right to it, man. You got anything you want to go through first?
Well, I guess we can start with introducing our guests. Bring them in. We gonna jump right into this thing.
I think we should do that since we did ask him to come on. So you know what I'm saying? Miss hold on, let's do this. All right, we'll let Miss Carr go first. Miss Carr, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I'm a little loud. I get a little excited here on the Doc Dunce podcast. So you know what I'm saying? But introduce yourselves. Tell the people who you are.
Thank you. I've been enjoying the end of the conversation I just heard. I'm Dr. Carr. I'm a hepatologist, it's okay, which is a liver doctor, and I work at the University of Pennsylvania, and I also run a lab where I do research on lab animals and cells on liver disease. Okay. And I have 2 kids in the Philadelphia school district, rising first grader and a rising 5th grader here at Penn Alexander. And I'm very active with education advocacy. So I am on the board of Education Law Center. I'm on the board of Kids Preschool Parent Infant Center, and I'm also an HSA board member at Penn Alexander.
Now, where's Penn Alexander located?
It's in West Philly, in the University City subdivision of West Philly.
I think I know where that is. Is that between Locust and Walnut?
Yeah.
Right across from the CVS.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
What you know in your city?
I always wanted to teach that school. Listen, real quick, Doc. The real Doc, not you, Rasan. We're talking to the real Doc. The one thing, when I used to work in our area, I worked at Intercultural Family Services. Just real quick, I used to always go by that school, and I used to always say, "Damn, I would love to teach it because it looks so clean and pristine." And it's like right in West Philly. You know, West Philly's, the hood. You know what I'm saying? So I would always go by there like, man, if I could teach it, that's. And I think I went in there a few times for like a PD or something like that when I was in the district, or whatever the case may be. But hold on, Dr. Carr. We have our next guest. All right, Miss Rebecca Arriaga. She's the parent coordinator at Camden City Schools. Miss Arriaga.
Hey everyone, how are you?
All right. This is a good friend of ours, or mine as well. So tell us who you are, tell us what you do, and all that other good stuff.
Again, my name is Rebecca Arriaga. I'm a family operations coordinator for the Kansas City School District. Born and raised in Camden. I am very passionate about family and community engagement, and yeah, that's it.
What, you do more than that. She's shy.
I know, but I'm not shy. I'm just getting to the meat and potatoes of things.
Okay,
so,
all right.
That's it.
Like I said, we thank you guys for coming on because, like I said, we definitely want to discuss, what's going to be going on within the next few weeks, and also what's been going on for the past few weeks as far as COVID-19. So let's dive right in. Doc, the other Doc, not the real Doc, the other Doc, Dr. Turpin. Go ahead, boss. Let's start this thing off.
Yeah, so I want to first focus on like the things that we know about this pandemic in terms of numbers. I think the U.S. My personal opinion hasn't handled this whole situation the way we should have. We've had almost 200,000 deaths and 5 million cases of COVID-19. And that's according to Johns Hopkins University. And then worldwide, there has been 737,000 deaths, which is, I'm not a math wizard, but I think that's about 20 to 30% of the overall count. So for me, I'm torn. I'm a parent as well. I work in education, and I think as Americans, this whole pandemic has not been taken very seriously. One of the main things I see is people not wearing masks, and people say it's a violation of my rights for you to tell me that I have to wear a mask, and so they're like, I'm not going to do this. But you see what happens, when people don't do that. And the biggest issues right now is, of course, us going back to school. So I want to open up the conversation, just talking about that, because other countries have gotten this right. Like South Korea has gotten it right. I think America has handled the situation, totally wrong. So I guess a question that I have is how is telling us to wear a mask a violation of our rights, but also, what messages is the country sending us when certain things can be opened up? And, you guys are free to congregate in these areas, but in other ways they're saying, stay home and keep yourself safe. I think that's kind of like an oxymoron.
Yeah, I agree with that. You've really hit the nail on the head. People confuse rights and responsibilities all the time in this country. There are lots of things we're required to do just by nature of us being a community member, by nature of us being a citizen, right, that are not ingrained in the Constitution. We can't walk into certain places unclothed, for example. And we should not view this any differently, especially when people are literally dying every minute from this disease. I think it's unfortunate. This has been politicized, and we can see that in terms of, in my view, the number of the states that have had the recent severe surges. They really have not had any masking policies, and history repeats itself. We learned from the Spanish flu. that masking is what was really a critical part of their public policy. So it's not something that's made up by the current leaders in Congress or those vying for certain offices, and certainly not made up by the scientists. This is something we've seen even historically that's made a difference. It's a very simple strategy that honestly, if we got 80 to 90% of people to wear masks, we could lower the community spread and actually get kids to school even more safely than we can now.
So Doc, I don't want to cut you off, the real Doc, I don't want to cut you off. As a medical professional, I'm going to throw this, and Rod, I don't want to step on your toes, but I want to also give Ms. Arriaga a chance to answer the question as well. But as a medical professional, Doc, you said we've politicized this virus. Why is it that it has become politicized? Like the medical experts, I call him the Godfather, Dr. Fauci. I call him the Godfather. He has told the person in the White House how to go about this. He said it on numerous occasions. He's been ostracized. The director of the CDC, he said these are the guidelines. He's been ostracized. The bald head brother that always wear the mask, the Surgeon General, he said wear a mask initially. He's been ostracized. So how is it that medical professionals have been ostracized, but they're presenting the facts?
Yeah, I think to be completely fair, people are seeing science the way we scientists always see it. They're seeing science unfold in real time, and that's pretty unheard of in most people's lifetimes. Most people are used to reading about science and scientific discoveries way after the fact, right after we have, passed it through our own scientific communities, maybe sometimes even years ahead of the time the public get wind of it. And so part of it is that people are not familiar with how scientific discoveries are made, and what they're seeing is the real-time science in action. So we develop hypotheses, we test those hypotheses. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, but we have to make decisions based on the information that we have at the time, and then build on that. And that's uncomfortable. I think from the beginning of the pandemic, there are so many things we didn't know. There's still so many things we don't know. And scientists were in the position of having to help create policy based on the little information we did have. So the masking policy did shift. But that was just the nature of how we came to learn that masks were actually way more effective than we in the scientific community had initially realized. So I think that people did get confused in the beginning because there was not a big push in the beginning to wear masks. And then part of that was also we had such a poor national response to the pandemic with the lack of PPE, personal protective equipment, that even if the science had supported it at the time, it wasn't something that people could even effectively do because those materials were not available. And then we learned later about the efficacy or the effect or effectiveness of the handmade masks. So that really helped this policy quite a lot. So to be completely fair, it's not everyone's fault that there was confusion and they're having trouble understanding what to believe because the guidance did shift. But for months now, it has been very clear that masks are important and that masks reduce spread of COVID-19 virus. And what we have unfortunately had is a lack of national leadership to set that example and come on board with where science is. And that's a big challenge. And I think there's a big part of the country that really follows leaders' words. And I'm not talking political parties. I mean, whoever, people follow, whatever news sources they use, they're going to believe what they see and hear. And oftentimes that's different than what the scientists are saying. And so there has been this big divide on top of the divide we were already experiencing as a nation. So it's complicated, but it would be really great if okay, let's forget about the national level, at least at the local level, at the city and the state levels, we could have our leaders get on board with some national or with
I don't want to cut you off. I want to cut you off,
Yeah.
but I do want to say two things, and then I want Rasan to be able to ask this question to Ms. Arriaga. With the mask, okay, with the mask, and we just talking about as far as policy and the way, and because you touch on so many things, I'm writing stuff down. At first, I wore a bandana. I was walking around like I was about to rob a bank. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I bet I get locked up with this mask. But in all seriousness, like, you know, we say where, like you said, and, you know, it's gotten better now, and even it's become to the point where people are starting to, I guess, make revenue off of it or profit off of it, which is fine. I mean, that's capitalism at its best. But what type of mask will cause, or I should say, will stop mitigation and the transmission of, you know, COVID-19, direct transmission of COVID-19, or what can lessen it, I guess?
Right. Yeah. Well, again, science has shifted, right? We didn't know until this past week about the data on bandanas as masks. So the recommendation is 2 layers of high quality, heavyweight cotton, like a thread count of about 180 or more. If you're into buying linens, that may be meaningful to you. And, you know, tightly woven, or you can have one outer layer of cotton and an inner layer of flannel that seems to do okay as well. The bandanas, the single layer materials are not as effective, but wearing something is better than not wearing anything at all. So, you know, if people don't have a mask at all, it's better to put something over the face than nothing over the face. But if you are going to really try to give yourself the best protection with the homemade mask, that would be the recommendation, or a high quality surgical mask like what the health professionals wear.
The N95. Okay, all right, then go ahead.
No, not the N95.
Oh, not the N95.
Surgical mask. The blue masks that you'll see surgeons and other doctors wearing in the hospital routinely. The N95 is different. It's a cup-shaped mask that we only use for certain kinds of procedures in the hospital. Those are not recommended for widespread use.
Oh, wow. Okay, because I'm glad you said that, because I knew a bunch of people was walking around with N95 masks.
Yeah, they're highly effective. It's just that we can't really recommend them for widespread use because, one, it's hard for people to keep those on all day, and the supplies are also very short. I mean, if you can tolerate it, sure, but it's not really necessary. So the homemade face coverings or the surgical mask at this point, I think, you know, people tend to have access to those as well.
All right, thank you, Doc. All right, so Miss Arriaga, I know you've been waiting patiently.
No worries. No, I'm here.
You are the parent coordinator of a school in Camden City. What's going to happen? Like, how do the parents feel? What's the role? How are they feeling? Like, or how do you feel as a parent coordinator? Then we could go into what the parents are feeling and questions that they may have.
So a lot of the parents have, you know, obviously mixed emotions. You know, we were told, you know, March 10th that the 13th would be our last day. We scrambled together, put, you know, packets and worksheets, and we distributed, and then that's it until I believe it was April when we were able, and we were fortunate enough to have our students receive laptops and tablets for our kindergartners. So at this point now, about 2 weeks ago, the district had proposed a hybrid learning method for the beginning of the school year. That has changed as of yesterday, based on the governor's recommendations. The school district has decided to start fully remote beginning September 8th until January 3rd.
We're talking Governor Murphy in New Jersey?
Yes, but also the superintendent of Camden Schools, Miss Katrina McCombs, yesterday announced that we will be starting the school year fully remote, and that time frame will be from September 8th until January 31st. And then at that time, things will be revisited. But again, the district has given surveys to parents and has collected the data and the information. Just having one-on-one conversations with my parents at my particular school, it's mixed. Some parents are saying, hey, so the hybrid platform was going to be 2 days, and then 3 days of remote. Some parents were all for it. It's only 8 hours a week. They'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And then you had other parents that were like, absolutely not. I am not sending my child. And that's mostly the younger, like our pre-K children. The parents were extremely hesitant, which is to be expected, but all across the board to be expected. But one of the biggest concerns with our pre-K, and I would say maybe up until like first grade, is them having the mask on all day. At first it was they could have it on and then sometimes no, but then it was mentioned that they have to have it on all day.
There's a meme that I saw about kids wearing masks on each level. Mm-hmm. Like elementary, it'll be like over the eyes. Middle school, like it'll be about it. High school, mm-hmm. it'll be like wherever. In college, they have a beer can. Right. So people don't like, even kids don't want to wear the mask to a certain degree. Go ahead, Doc. The other Doc, not the real Doc. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
Miss Arriaga, I did want to ask you, because I think you said you guys have the hybrid, so parents have the option to decide, mm-hmm. what they want to do. Are you finding more parents leaning towards the online, or they listen? I deal with a lot of parents, and a lot of parents could not mm-hmm. wait to get their kids back in school. And I'm in the high school mm-hmm. setting, and mm-hmm. but we're not giving them that option. We're out until December 1st. So mm-hmm. are you finding that more parents are willing to keep their children at home, or more parents are trying to send them back to school those days?
So it was a mixture, but predominantly the parents, they just wanted to keep their children home. But you did have some parents who were saying, hey, it's only 8 hours a week, they'll be fine. But like I had mentioned before, as of yesterday, we are starting full remote, and also our charter and Renaissance counterparts, I believe they are also starting full remote, not to the extent or the length as January 31st, I believe, but for the most part, the public, Renaissance, and charter schools in the city of Camden all will start remotely.
I got a question real quick, and I want to introduce our next guest, the real Doc and Miss Arriaga. Is it, now you're the parent coordinator, and I'm gonna keep it real, okay? So my daughter's 17, so she's different. But if I got, a kindergartner, a middle schooler, and a high school, and I'm trying to balance it, like, are there some parents that are like, yo, take this person, please, because I need a woosah moment? Do parents say that to you as well? Like, let's keep it real. Like, I mean, for those of us that have children, we all love our children. But it's like sometimes, like if you don't go sit your behind down somewhere, like, is it like, talk to me, parent coordinator, talk to me.
So in my conversations with parents, the concern is that I haven't really, interestingly enough, I haven't had a parent say, "Oh my gosh, I'm tired of taking kids." No, I haven't really had anyone say that to me. It is what it is. But I've had parents more so concerned with, how can I help my child? Am I doing the right things? How can I, they're signing into Google Classroom. I'm not familiar with Google, parents saying that they're not familiar with Google Classroom. So we as a district and other family and operations coordinators, we try to support our parents in those areas. And it's been very successful. We stumbled all into this March 13th, and we learned as we go. Everything is trial and error. And as we start the new school year remotely, I feel in my heart that we are better equipped this go around.
Okay, well that's good. Well, like I said, and I patiently thank you. This is like my sister from another mister. I don't know what she looks like on y'all's screen. She's at the bottom of my screen. This is Miss Kim Hoyle. Kim, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. This is my homie from Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, you know, sister from another mister. Talk to us, Miss Hoyle. How's everything? Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Hoyle. I am here in the Detroit metro area. I'm a mother of 3, so I have I'm kind of all over the place with my kids. So I have a 6-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 16-year-old. And one of my kids is in private school. My 11-year-old is in private school. So we had made the decision. Should I just go right into it, or?
Well, I was gonna. You.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna prep you for it, but you know what I'm saying? Let me do my job. So, Miss Hoyle and Rod, you could jump in, but we have just like the real doc, as I like to say. I'm gonna stop saying that, Dr. Carr.
It's fine. It's your show. You do what you want.
Dr. Carr is our medical expert, if you would like to say. We wanted to have her on, talk about it from a medical standpoint. We have Miss Arriaga on as a parent coordinator from the parent standpoint, but also from a school district standpoint, not necessarily representing Camden City Schools, but just to talk about some of the things that they're doing. And for you in the Midwest, or in Michigan, I should say to be exact, they were one of the first states to say, we're not opening early. We're going to ride this quarantine out. And they received a lot of backlash where people were actually going up on a Capitol or up on I guess the state Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
What has been your experience as far as dealing with this from, of course, a standpoint as far as with the schools, but also just a standpoint as far as, you know, what I guess, how your children may feel. Like you say, you got just like Dr. Carr, you have a variety. You have a 6-year-old, 11-year-old, and a teenager, I believe, a 60-year-old, as you said. So, you know, what's been the experience?
Yeah, so I will say my kids have sort of adjusted pretty well to being at home. Even my 16-year-old, which is, I couldn't believe it, but, you know, it's, my kids we try to, you know, keep them informed and we don't shelter them from news and facts. So they understand, you know, what's going on. But one thing I will say is that here in Michigan, we have, you know, it's very divided. You have a lot of people who believe that the coronavirus is a hoax. And we just need to get back to work. The kids need to go back to school. I can't afford to not, you know, have kids in school. A lot of kids here in Michigan, especially in the Detroit area, they get their meals from school. Right. So a lot of kids haven't been eating properly because it's just not, you know, available to them at home. There's a lot of abuse happening. So school was, you know, had been a reprieve from that type of lifestyle. I will say, so we live in Oakland County, and Oakland County is one of the most affluent counties, definitely in Michigan, but it breaks up in the U.S. as well.
Wait, you live in Oakland County?
Yeah.
So you got some money?
No. So listen. So the reason I say that though is because, shockingly, so I live in Troy, which is in Oakland County. Our taxes are the lowest in Oakland County, so we like at the bottom, but we're blessed.
Rich people always say that. Rich people always say they blessed. The Lord bless me.
but what I will say, you know, a lot of parents had, you know, the idea or the hope that we would go into a hybrid model with returning to class. And we just had our final recommendation and approval from the board yesterday that we are starting remote. And they're, after 5 weeks, I don't know who picked that increment, but whatever, it's gonna be 5 weeks, they're gonna reevaluate and see where things are. So we'll probably be remote, just like the rest of the school districts across the country that are saying, you know, it may be January 1 before you see the inside of classroom. Wow. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the fact that our Oakland County Health Department did not participate in any meaningful way in these return to class strategies. So it's like you've got administrators and teachers and board members coming up with this plan to go back to school, and there's no health officials weighing in. So, you know, questions like, well, how many children is it going to take that, or children or teachers or administrators or whatever in the school, is it going to take to come with positive results to say, okay, we're going to shut it down? And they couldn't answer that because they got no guidance from the health department, which I thought was really, really concerning, especially in a county like Oakland County.
All right, Kim, hold that thought. Dr. Carr, when you hear stuff like that as a health professional, that no one, you know, from a health standpoint stepped in, how do you feel? What does that make you think?
That's very worrisome. It was actually, I think our Philadelphia school district has had health professionals involved along the way. But the one piece that made me uncomfortable about green lighting our kids' return to school is that we also didn't have that final piece of information that Ms. Hoyle was talking about. Our health officials really haven't ramped up their contact tracing program at the time that the district was needing to make this decision, and they also didn't have answers what the thresholds would be for closing down a classroom, although they said that they were working with the health officials to come up with those policies. So I wholeheartedly agree that this has been, in some cases, a kind of a piecemeal approach to a return to schools. And yeah, health officials absolutely have to be involved along the whole spectrum.
Okay, all right then.
So, Kim, if I may, your comment about reevaluating after 5 weeks actually takes me into my next question. One of the things we learned since March is that children are not immune to this virus like we initially thought. And I read a statistic, I think it was last week, that said the number of cases in children has doubled over the last month, even though kids only make up, 10% of I guess the COVID population, I'll call it. And there's districts like in Georgia, I'm sure you guys heard about the district out there that the girl had, I think she tweeted or something about everybody wasn't required to wear masks. And then I'm not sure if it was the same district or not, but there was a district in Cherokee County where more than 800 students and 42 staff members ended up getting infected because they were back in school, people weren't wearing masks. So, and I know there's other districts who are anxious to get the kids back in school, which is, again, worrisome to me. I want to ask you guys, anybody can chime in, what do you think the rush is? Knowing all the facts that we know, what is the rush to get these kids? I don't care whether they're starting now, they're starting at the end of August, or they're starting in 5 weeks back in the building. What is the rush to get them back to school knowing the downside?
So I'll say, we had our final board meeting last night. And they streamed it on Facebook Live. And so, you had a lot of parents who joined in and were able to comment. A lot of these parents they're single family homes, or they are households where both mom and dad don't have the ability to work from home. Or they are households where there are smaller children or the children are special needs. So you got kids who are on IEP, 504 plans, who really need that face-to-face and kind of thrive and grow academically with that sort of one-on-one contact with their teachers. So there's a lot of parents with that concern, and they're like, how am I going to afford, you've got parents now talking about, we're going to create learning pods, where we're going to hire, a private teacher. That could be, upwards of $125,000 for a year. And even if you're splitting that between a handful of families, that's an expense that most people had not planned for. And most people, most Americans can't necessarily afford. I will say for our situation, my 6-year-old who's going into first grade, he's going to be remote. And my 16-year-old, she's going to be remote. They're both in the public school system here in Troy. My 11-year-old is in private school. He's also ADHD. Also, if he had stayed in public school, would have an IEP. But he's in a private school setting where his class size is only 6 kids anyway. And it had been that. So he's going to go back in seat because it's a smaller setting. We do have, a more comfort and more trust with the school that they're able to accommodate the kids. But even that's a risk. And so I think that a lot of people at this point, whatever their personal circumstance is, I think it's also layered on the fact that Americans just don't feel comfortable going into this and not having an end date. Like, we have no idea where this is going. And so I think a lot of people are acting emotionally. And I say that because I was looking at the chat yesterday and I'm like, wow, these are people who are in, again, Oakland County, and you guys are supposed to be like, the upper echelon and the this and the that. But that none of that matters when you are feeling like your back is up against the wall. You don't necessarily have the additional means to bring somebody in to help you educate your kid, or even if you're working from home. Like, my husband and I both can work from home, but we have a first grader. I don't expect my first grade. So I'm going to be professional mom, teacher mom, lunchroom mom, bathroom monitor mom, and I'm going to be on a business development meeting all at the same time. And that's stressful. And so I think a lot of people are, at first I was really annoyed and I was angry at these parents, but then when you have to stop and think about it, like, what is the emotional impact of just the thought of having to navigate through all of that on a Tuesday when, just last school year at the beginning of the year, it was dropping the kids out, putting the kids on the bus, and you go on about your day and you got your own, a whole host of other worries. So I think people are just, you certainly have those ones who are subscribing, especially here in Michigan, who are subscribing to, this is a hoax. You guys are crazy. We're not wearing masks. We're going to kill the governor. You guys are nuts.
Right.
A lot of Trumpians. But you also, there's a lot of emotion. And a lot of people are just like, these kids got to go to school, because if they don't go to school, I can't work. If I can't work, they can't eat. And so it's a trickle down.
I wanted this, and great point, Ms. Hoyle. I want to ask Ms. Arriaga a question, Rob, before I let you go, because Kim made a good point. I don't know why I said Ms. Hoyle, like I don't know her. Kim made a good
Mess
point.
Me up.
Right. Kim made a good point, and Ms. Arriaga, I saw you nodding your head. She made 3 points. She mentioned nutrition for children. She mentioned special needs, and she mentioned also abuse. And Ms. Arriaga, I propose a question to you, and then Doc, I'll let you piggyback off of it. Have you seen any signs of maybe not, I don't know about the abuse part, maybe you may not see that because the kids aren't in school, but have you seen this, have you heard about situations where parents are talking to you about, well, how can get certain resources for food, and my child has an IEP, and the 504 and 3 things of that nature. One thing I want to make a point, I was watching something before we came on. NBC did a special on coronavirus in schools with Lester Holt. And he said that the children that are in this pandemic, they will be, I forget how he put it, but they may lose 10% of their social skills, meaning that if they're not interacting. And then I was thinking like, well, when I was teaching, all the kids in my class, they would want to cut up anyway. So, like, shit, keep y'all asses at home. You know what I'm saying? But in all seriousness, though, and I'm laughing, I'm jokingly, but there is a dynamic, as Kim mentioned, as far as for the special needs students, that if they're not getting the proper resources and assistance, that they may even, I guess, regress instead of progress. Can you speak to that, Rebecca?
So I'm going to break it down in, I guess, 2-3 parts. Yeah. So
break it down so to be broken.
So in terms of the Camden City School District, in regards to food and nutrition, our food and nutrition department has meal sites, and they have been very successful with providing families with meals for the entire week, and that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And those sites have been utilized very much so. And also a big help that has been to families is the emergency EBT card that each family receives for each student, which I believe each student received about, don't quote me on this, about $400 in food stamps. So that was another help for families. And then just the community as a collective, with different food sites and just churches helping out, and not even so much like food, but just like basic necessities. So in terms of that, I believe that our school district has done an extremely excellent job. In terms of like, I guess, like our special needs children, I can just speak for my school at this point. They are very hands-on with our special needs children, and they are educators in our school with the special needs population. They've been doing an excellent job with our students. Yes, there are some challenges for the first part or whatnot, but they've done an excellent job.
Okay.
And also, and one last thing, I'm sorry. So in terms of, so we in the our school district, we have a program called School-Based Youth Services that also support students. And each school-based youth service team has a mental health clinician on their staff. So again, like the example with my particular school, so what that group has been doing for our students is just like having Google Classrooms. If any students need to talk about things in a safe space, they've been doing so.
That's good.
Okay, well that's a great point. Dr. Carr, when you hear the point that Ms. Hoyle made as far as nutrition and possible abuse, and also with special needs as a health professional, but also, you know, as somebody that works at the University of Pennsylvania, what are your thoughts?
These are all critical issues, and I think a lot of what led the Pediatric Society, the AAP, to come out strongly in favor of school reopening several months ago because of these very real concerns. I know that the numbers of calls to hotlines and for abuse have been down, and there's a really big concern that the kids who are in these situations are not being identified. So these are very real concerns. I think that from a healthcare standpoint, I have to, in some ways, separate these issues pretty concretely in my mind, because the alternative or the solution, in my view, cannot be to then send them into an unsafe physical environment where they're at risk of getting COVID-19 and having all the sequelae from that. I think, as Ms. Arriaga talked about, I think the solution in that case is really increasing the other supports within a community. So the food banking, I know the Philadelphia School District has done a lot with that, in the churches and those other resources. But I think schools can also take a little bit of a nuanced approach to maybe just bringing in the children who need that one-on-one time. So the kids with special needs, why not give them access to a whole wide open school building where they're not at risk of being in a crowded setting, and they can still get what they need. So I don't think districts have really done that piece very well. I think we can still accommodate kids who have those needs without having all of the children in that same environment. When the community spread is so great, we really can't safely bring kids into the building until those numbers come down. So it's complicated, but yeah, those are very important issues, very concerning. Our schools have become bigger social structures, and I think they were ever intended to be. And other countries don't really work like this. Schools aren't everything for all families, but in the U.S., because we have so few safeguards in our country, the school has had to fill an inordinate amount of needs, not only for students but also for their families. And so now this is where we find ourselves. But I do think there are other solutions besides bringing kids into, especially buildings, some of which in our district where windows don't function or they have lead and asbestos.
They're old. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I think
no, it's fine.
I know it definitely in Camden. For the years that I worked in Camden. And I'm not sure where the rich people live, but they got old buildings. You know what I'm saying? They probably got the Microsoft building. But in all seriousness, though, a lot of the buildings are old, so the ventilation is poor, and the mitigation and the transmitting, I guess, of the virus can be an issue as well, even if you do have a mask. So I mean, you guys make good points. This is the Doc Dunce podcast.
Don't try this at home.
Good brother, tell them where they can find us. Tell them where they can find us. Tell them where they can find us.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Drop us a DM and let us know what you think. We would appreciate the feedback.
Subscribe now.
So I see, and here's the thing. This is what happens on a Zoom call when you at home. I saw your child ran up on you, Kim. You know what I'm saying? This is why parents want their kids to be back in school. Boy, if you don't get out my face, I'm trying to work.
And all he just want a snack.
Oh,
the kitchen is closed. The kitchen is closed.
I think I shared with them. And some of y'all may know, or you may not know, Dr. Carr. I worked in the school district for almost 18 years, and I left and I started doing this and I started doing that. But this last semester, I worked at Rowan, and I was so happy not to have to deal with this whole virtual learning thing because of the nuances and the things that you guys had to go through. And I say you guys being the parent and the teachers and the parents and the coordinators, administrations in certain schools, because it just seemed like it was like you said, there was no direction initially. Like everybody thought, okay, we have a little 2-week vacation. April came around, okay, we got a month, I'm chilling. But when May and June came, it was like, man, and then
what's really going on?
Right, what's really going on. And now it's like you got to go through this whole thing again. And I think I made a joke at the beginning before some of you may have come on, but this is a time of year where you start looking forward to back to school, like your fresh kicks and your school clothes and your book bags and fresh haircuts and girls getting barrettes and braids, and like those things can't happen virtually, or I should say, not saying that they can't, but it won't mean the same. Right, it's definitely different. But Doc Turpin, come on, man, let's drive this Cadillac. Let's take us on. What we talking about?
Well, before we move forward, I want to jump back to 2 points that you guys made. One was about the students, certain kids losing out on social skills, and I think it was more geared towards students with special needs or whatever. I have a 4-year-old right now, and his school closed down in March. Back in March, he goes to early learning center, and by the time it got to the end of May, beginning of June, it was like, we got to do something with this kid. And I felt bad. In my frustration as a parent, I also felt bad because I know what the cry was for. So he has a 2-year-old dog. It was supposed to be my dog, but I also said he needs to grow up with a dog. And it got to the point where he was putting all that energy that he would burn up in school all day, and it was coming out towards the dog. So it was like he's wrestling with the dog. He's beating the dog up. And I'm like, this kid cannot blow off this steam the way he's used to. And the best news that we got was, in which we had to make a decision, where his school said, they sent us a survey. If we put proper precautions in place, would you send your kid to school, full-time or part-time? And we made the decision based on looking at the facts of what they planned on doing based on CDC guidelines. And we decided to send them to school 3 days a week. And that was the best decision because, it was an adjustment, one, because he had to get back to used to getting up early in the morning, but to see the difference in how it makes a difference with them having the ability to deal with other kids their age versus being in the house with their parents and a dog all day, it makes all the world. So I feel bad for parents, one, who don't have that option, but who also are forced to keep their child at home because they are going to miss out. I don't care if they have an IEP, a 504 plan. If they're at that young, tender age when they need to start developing social skills and how to interact and play, and I said this several times, I would hate to be a child right now. Knowing what I know about childhood and also seeing it as a parent, they're going to miss out on so much, and so much is going to have to be made up for on the back end if we come out of this. So I wanted to make that point. The other thing was talking about, the students who do have special needs and like trying to get certain aspects of those students back in the school. One thing I will give my school their props on is that as as the new plan rolled out into place, they did say that they're working on a plan to get students, you know, who have lower functioning and physical needs in the school, because that population, one, is the smallest, but it also has the highest need. So I think giving parents, I don't care what district you're in, giving those parents who have those type of students that option, I think that will mean the world to them and make their lives a lot easier. So I did want to just talk about those points before we moved on. So yeah, so moving on, there's a lot of dynamics to this whole thing. You know, sometimes the parents are blaming the schools are telling the parents to be patient, and I think this is a process of us all trying to figure this out and not beat each other down too much. But one of the questions I'm asking as a middleman, and I call myself a middleman because I work in education, but I'm also a parent, and I also understand the medical importance of all this. What is the best decisions for schools to make right now? What is the best decision for parents to make right now? Because one thing we do know is the person at the top of all this, he don't care about none of us. And I would just leave it out there. I'm gonna leave that right there. But I do want to know what you guys think. You know, what is the best decision?
Yeah.
No, it's not Kamala.
Biden.
Kamala. Well, listen, she's going to be the president anyway because Joe owns the dirt, but we ain't going to get into that right now. But I apologize. Go ahead.
That's cool.
Brother. Go ahead.
So, I mean, anybody, it's not directed towards anyone. What do you think? What guys think about that?
I think the one true thing that that even you hear in the national discourse is that it really does depend on geography. And we can see that even looking at countries around the world, right? The countries where they tried to open in the middle of high surges, that didn't work. The countries where they waited and they had low numbers, they've reopened. They seem to be doing okay in terms of school reopening. So I think it depends a lot on geography, your local geography, what the numbers are like. In Philly, we have about, I think, a 3% case rate right now, positivity rate. I think New York is 1% or lower. So they're going to try. And I think it's okay for them to try as long as their school have what they need to accommodate all of the safety protocols. So I think it's really depend on geography. But once schools open, they can't have kids in the building and not wear masks and not hand wash and not have windows opening or not be socially distant. I mean, those are the core things that all do regardless of what your local geography, what the numbers are like.
Doc, do you think, and I'll open it, and it's not necessarily a question, more of a statement, but you could expand upon this. Do you think it's a red state versus blue state type of thing? I mean, because if you look at even in, college football came out and made an announcement as far as they're not going to play the Big Ten and the Pac-12. But those are primarily schools that are focused in blue state areas, Michigan, of course, Michigan and Iowa and Illinois, and Pac-10, California being the largest, state in that conference, particular conference. But do you think it's a red state versus blue state type thing, and all the red states are following his lead, even though they know it's wrong? Like Florida is like, it's like Walking Dead right now. Like people, like if you breathe, you're gonna catch corona in Florida. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it may turn out to be that way. I know that they, after looking at the Spanish flu, it was like that. It tended to go along political lines. How the rates were down compared to basically going along political lines. So we'll probably see a similar thing. I would say California is not that story, right? It's a solidly blue state, but their numbers have really gone up, probably unexpectedly for them. So I'm sure they're trying to figure out what that's related to. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I've not personally seen those data, parceled out in that way. It's a fine, may very well be.
And I think too, there's, we just posted just over 1,000 cases today, which is our highest daily rate since April.
In Michigan?
Yeah,
in
Michigan. Yeah. So we're trending up. I think, there's also the issue of, equitable resources, right? So we have, if you look at Southeastern Michigan, You look at the city of Flint, you look at Highland Park, which is just outside of Detroit, and then also even Detroit, access to clean water, right? So when these kids are, when you talk about, you know, being able to wash your hands and being able to implement the necessary safety measures, these kids don't even have clean water to do that.
And this is still in Flint?
Yeah. They're still yeah.
Okay, so there's still issues in Flint along, even with the whole pandemic, you still have issues as far as water that, you know, these people are dealing with. Just like, you know, in Philadelphia, they're dealing with poverty. In Camden, we're dealing with parts of poverty. Like, this thing is not, like I keep hearing people say, we talk about the whole racial disparities and things of that nature. Like, this thing has not only, you know, opened up Pandora's box as far as from a medical standpoint, it's also showed the, you know, the differences, of course, in the racial inequalities and how we, as Black and brown people, tend to, you know, get the short end of the stick. And I'm not going to get political. I don't want to get on my soapbox, but I do think that it's important for us to acknowledge those types of things. I want to ask a question, Ms. Arriaga, but I want to read a few things if you don't mind. Doc, you don't mind if I read something, do you?
Of course I mind. No,
all right. I said, wow, dude. So here we go. Since July 30th, there have been almost, it says 97,000 plus, almost 100,000 cases of coronavirus amongst young people between the ages of 5 to 16 years old. Also, ages K through 5, there have been, as far as school age, through the ages of K through 5, there has been an influx on in various parts of the South. Excuse me, I apologize. The CDC director, and I apologize, I should have been on my job. I forget his name, but he has said that he wants the schools to use the guidelines as guidance, but he does feel as though that schools should be open. And it's the point that I want to get to for all of you guys, but I want to go to the parent coordinator first. He mentioned vaccinations. Now, and I wrote down in my notes, are they the answer? Ms. Arriaga, as a parent coordinator, do you feel as though your parents would be open to having their children take a vaccination or coronavirus vaccine? Because I'm under like, for me, actually, you know, I'll let you go and then I'll come back to my point because I asked you the question.
So I have had conversations with parents, and some of them do feel as though that until the vaccination is offered, they do not feel comfortable sending their child, you know, back to school, which I could understand, the worry in that. I haven't had too many conversations in terms of vaccinations, just like here and there, but yeah, for the most part, all of the conversations that I've had, parents are saying that until a vaccination is offered, they do not feel comfortable sending their children back to school.
Okay. Dr. Carr, what do you think about vaccinations? You're the medical expert.
I'm very much in support of vaccinations. Before we even get to talking about the future coronavirus vaccination, we need to talk about the flu vaccination.
Okay.
We should, should try to get at to 100% vaccination status, because the last thing we want to do on top of COVID-19 impacting our kids, our teachers, our students, our
now,
staff.
Doc, I'm going to say this. I'm a little old school, and this is my dunce moment. Okay, so I'm of the, and I should say dunce moment, but I'm of the belief. I've never taken a flu shot. I've always, my nana used to make lemon water and
lemon water.
And castor oil and all that.
Castor oil every spring. Yeah.
Those were remedies that, I took as a kid. And God, I'm thankful, I didn't make my child do it. But, you have people, you have the conspiracy people and the Imhotep people and the black nationalists like, well, I'm not taking the vaccination because of the Tuskegee experiment. And you see what happened, But in all honesty, like, should we really, I know you're in support of it, but for those people that say, well, look what happened to Tuskegee, or, my child may develop this, or my child may develop that, like, what do you say to them?
Well, the first is just to acknowledge they're not lying. That that happened, right? Okay. Those are the facts. That happened to our people, and that's not the only example of that, right? So, when people talk to me about those real concerns, I say, yeah, you know, that did happen. I mean, science has come a long way since then, but we have to make sure that the safeguards that are in place are actually being fully utilized all the time. So yeah, I mean, I think those concerns are very real. People have a right to feel that way. At the same time, I do encourage people, especially when it comes to vaccines, that the data are so overwhelmingly positive. And these, you know, especially with the flu vaccine, it's been around, you know, for so long, and lots of people have gotten, you know, Black people, white people, Asian, you know, all kinds of people have
so
been
if I
exposed
take
to this. It's
if I take
relatively
the flu
safe.
if I take the flu vaccine, I won't come out looking like the Elephant Man, right? I'll be okay.
You will not come out looking
All
like
right.
the Elephant
I want to
Man.
let Kim go because we have another guest, and I want to give Kim a chance, an opportunity to ask a question. And I want Dr. Turpin to get another chance to make his point. Go ahead, Kim. Vaccination, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so my kids are vaccinated. My only concern, you know, with this corona vaccine is all of sort of the mounted, you know, pressure and evidence and emotional stress just over how this administration has taken care of things. So I don't trust them. I don't trust that, you know, I don't trust their trials and things of that nature. But on a whole, you know, my kids are up to date. I'm not one of those moms that are not, you know, we get vaccinated. And, you know, if there's a corona vaccine that is, you know, heavily supported by the health organizations that where it needs to be, then I'm fine with that. Now, the one that Russia just said that they have come up with, we're not taking that.
Okay, yes. Yeah. We're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
We'd be all jacked up.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So does that mean every country is going to be coming out with their own vaccine? Like
there are lots of vaccine trials going on across the world. It's like, you know, the space race. So yeah we're probably going to see several candidates. Our leading candidate, it was developed by a Black scientist, you know, and her trial, which is in phase 3, which is like the final stage now, actually does include Black people. So I think for our community, those are
What's
really
her name,
important.
Doc? What's her name?
Her first name is Kizzy, and I'm just spacing on her Black. Yeah. Let me just. I know, right? Let me just quickly get it for you. Yeah. So she's been researching coronaviruses for a very long time, and Corbett. So Kizzmekia Corbett, and she goes by Kizzy. So yeah, she's a PhD scientist, and her technology is what's being used in the Moderna trials right now. So I'm really watching that. She had Georgia was one of the sites, so we know that there's plenty of diversity there. So those are important things to look at when these trials come out, to make sure that they're representative of the American population of people. And but they're going to be tried in, you know, a number. I think they had, I want to say 40,000 is the number I'm remembering, how many people are in this trial.
On the trials,
yeah. So it's going to be a lot of folks.
Well, I think, and you guys all alluded to it, and Miss Arriaga made a good point that, you know, a lot of parents don't want to send their children back until there's an actual vaccination. As you said, making sure that it's a positive one, and as Kim said, making sure that it can be trustworthy. So I think you guys all hit on how parents are feeling. I got my homie in the building. It took her forever to get on. She's slowing us up. We're going to be on here for till 12 o'clock, messing with her slow behind. But this is Miss Dawn Westcott Williams. You know, she has a kinship to us. We all went to school together back in the day. But Miss Williams, you got a story to tell about COVID-19 and school and family and all like that. So we just going to let you jump right into it. Go ahead, do your thing.
Okay, we have a pretty active lifestyle. Work for a cardiologist.
Say hello to the people.
Hi, everybody. Sorry. I'm sorry, I just got in from cheer. My kids are back cheering, so I was just, and then this stupid computer, this MacBook had to update, so it's crazy. We have a pretty active lifestyle. Like I said, I work for a cardiologist. We see a lot of patients a day. The kids were in school at the time, and like I said, we do cheer. They do all-star cheer, so the kids are, they're on top, they were on top of each other at one point. This is back in March. My little one, I have 5 daughters. My 6-year-old, she got sick, took her to the Medi-Merge. They tested her for strep throat, for flu, everything came back negative. And then my 8-year-old, I remember watching like the news when they were testing, when this COVID had just started going out. They didn't have the tests at the Medi-Merge or whatever. So a couple weeks went by, my 8-year-old got sick. I got sick as well. We both got sick. So this is when, we were still at work and they were telling us, I work for Hackensack Meridian. They were telling us, you can't wear masks. You're going to scare
in New Jersey, correct? You work in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure you prep.
Yes, I'm sorry. Okay. In Jersey. Yeah. And they're telling us we couldn't wear masks. We were going to scare our patients. We couldn't take any precautions. I was, taking people's temperatures without gloves and everything at the moment. So she got sick. I took, I went next door to like a primary care and got swabbed. I had to take her to the DMV because of her age. They wouldn't swab her.
Gonna take her where? To the where? To
the, the DMV. They were doing them like the drive-through at the DMV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it was like, like the movie, the movie E.T. where they have like those tents and everything.
Right.
It was very like sci-fi. Like it was crazy. I never experienced anything like it. Like they came out to the car to swab me, like the nurse practitioner. But we took her, and 10 days went by, and then I finally got the call. I got 2 calls, and they said she had tested positive. So, wow. Like I said, I can't backtrack. I don't know where she got it from. It could have been me, around all these patients. At this time, we lost a lot of patients, a lot of elderly patients, but I don't know where she got it from. I don't know whether it was from, cheerleading, being on top, or regular public school. So she just
go ahead. I apologize. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it wasn't like everybody's story is different. Right. She just had it was like she had the flu. She's had the flu before. We take our flu shots, but it was like a bad flu. She was very fatigued. It was like maybe 15 to 20 days. She was like down for the couch, just on the couch, fever,
So my question is, and I'm gonna let that boy Rago. What were the symptoms? Well, first of all, this was your youngest child or the 8-year-old?
My second the 8-year-old.
The 8-year-old. Okay, so what were you kind of talked about the symptoms, but as a parent, what were you thinking? Like that's my main. Like as a parent, how did you feel?
I didn't know what. I mean, we would come home from work every day, and everybody thought, I'm sure like everybody here thought we all had it, and I was like, what's going to happen to her? Let me just monitor her. Thankfully, I had my boss, we were in touch I took the 10 days off of work. That's all they gave us. Okay. And I stayed with her. I watched her. Her breathing was fine. She had a sore throat. She couldn't taste. She had a fever. She had a fever for 2 days only.
Okay.
So it was, it was scary. It was very scary, but it was almost like I said, she had the flu, and she was just very fatigued. She didn't want to do anything. She didn't eat, I gave her Gatorade, kept her hydrated, but that was about it.
Now, Dr. Carr, and I'm not going to ask this question. I don't, initially the reports when this first all jumped off as far as COVID-19 coronavirus, the thought was children could not get it. It was just people over a certain age. And of course, we've come to find out now the dynamic has changed, the population has changed, the ethnicity has changed as far as people dying and getting contact with the virus. So, what are we to believe?
Yeah, I don't think it was ever that they could not get it, but it was that their risk was exceedingly low. So it was possible, but it was super, super rare in the beginning. And I think part of what misled us is that kids were home for the most part. So, in a way they were kind of doing what we're telling people to do now, right? To social distance. So the numbers are higher than we thought initially, although still not anywhere near the oldest kids or the adults, or certainly the elderly. But they're there. They're higher than what we initially thought.
I don't want to be rude, and I don't want to cut you off, but I want to go back to you, Dawn. You said that this was before, I guess, we all knew what was going on. You were in North Jersey. You were going through your regular routine. You were cheerleading and probably getting all types of snacks for the kids and pom-poms and Go Team and all that type of stuff. Once you found out that, was it Gia that had it?
Gabriella.
Once you find out Gabriella had it, did you tell your, I guess, other parents, hey, listen, my child may had a COVID, like, I don't want to scare you, but, what was that conversation like? Because, go ahead, yeah.
We didn't even tell her. Like, I really didn't know how to tell her. Like, and then at one point she said, Mom, I think I have it, right? And I'm like,
kids know.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I got the Rona, what's gonna happen, the kids, But yeah, we told everybody. You have to. Like I said, it was, I think she tested positive. I want to say it was like March 21st. This was all new. Wow. It was so scary, scary,
Right. We had just started quarantine, I guess, on the East Coast in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania, even parts of Delaware, or I should say Delaware as well. So like you said, it was definitely still fresh. Miss Arriaga, I don't want to leave you out of this. As a parent coordinator, if a parent comes to you and says, my child has coronavirus, or they had coronavirus, what do you say to them?
I have not, I'm going to be very transparent. I have not had a parent tell me that their child has tested corona.
Okay.
I have not.
Go ahead, Rob.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, so I wanted to ask you a question because if your district or your schools open back up, and a parent informs the school that their child did develop symptoms or whatever, they tested and they came back positive. How is the school planning, or have you guys even thought that far ahead yet to plan to deal with a situation like that?
So there are committees that are putting together those types of plans. If a child tests positive, or even if a parent tests positive, there are committees in place that are handling that.
Okay. All right. Dawn, I want to jump back to you for a second because two things that we talked about before you came on, I wanted to get your insight on because you've gone down this road already. Mm-hmm. One thing we talked about was a vaccine, and Dr. Carr did mention that it would be okay to get a vaccine. Mm-hmm. If a vaccine comes out in the near future, one, would you be open to you and your family getting that vaccine? And two, having gone through this already, what do you believe is the best decision for either you or for parents in general to make in terms of what they should do with their kids if they have the option to send them to school or leave them home?
Well, I told you my oldest, she's out of school, but I have two kids, middle school aged and then two elementary school age. I chose for the two middle school age to do remote because I feel like they can handle it themselves. Mm-hmm. My two little ones, I was at this point right now, Edison, I live in Edison, and right now they're going to go to school 2 half days. And I chose to send them just because, like my 6-year-old, like she's just learning to read. I work full time. My husband's a truck driver. He's never home. Right. So I feel like it's not fair, and I am precautious. I felt like we have such a low percentage of people that are going to actually send back their kids, like 29%. So I feel like they can social distance. On the same note, I'm also, I have a feeling it's going to be shut down at one point because I'm like, like myself, I feel like even like, like tomorrow, like somebody that we saw yesterday or today can test positive. So what do? I call both of the schools and then everybody's on quarantine. Like, I don't know how that's going to work. Like, will the whole school, is everybody in a quarantine, and are they going to all shut down? So I feel like it's going to be short-lived if the kids do go back to school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No, I don't feel like I'm going to do the vaccination. I don't my children are vaccinated. I just feel like I can't trust it right now. I'm scared. I know, granted, I'm sure the most educated people in the world are working on these vaccines, but I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm just, I don't know, I'm just scared that, of the side effects or, the long-term effects of it.
You know, and that's the point that Kim made as well. She was saying she didn't trust it. I think even initially I was kind of joking with Tuskegee, but I think I think that and Dr. Carr, you know, you're the professional. If I'm wrong, I think you mentioned, you know, some points, and you said that Kizzy was developing a vaccination. But I think that, you know, in the back of our minds, it's like, you know, from what I've heard about COVID and the virus itself, we don't know because people have gotten it and gotten over it, but they talk about the long-term effects. Mm-hmm. So will the vaccination wipe out the long-term effects, or will it just stop it for that point in moment? I know, like I said, you don't have all the answers now, but I think for me, like I say, I'll listen to my nan all day. Lemon juice and turpentine and castor oil, I'm good. Put some onions in my sauce. I'm good. But I think that's how a lot of people are thinking. I mean, and Kim knows me. You know, Kim is like one of my sister from another mister, but we work out together on the Zoom, and it's some of this, you know, we always talk about, like, yo, you have to be in shape. A lot of people that are getting this disease and, of course, unfortunately dying, that are Black and Latino, are either obese, diabetic, high blood, poor dietary habits. People that live in the hood go to Chinese stores, Dominican stores, people that eat plantanos and rice and beans and all that type of stuff. And I don't want to make a broad statement, but it's like it's affecting us more because of our habits. But will the vaccination just, like, I guess, put all that to rest? Like, I don't know. Like,
I mean, those are great questions. You know, so
thank you.
They're really great questions, and you know, there are always considerations for any kind of clinical trial. There's the short-term things we try to prevent and lower the risk of whatever it is we're looking at. But then we have to follow patients for a long time to know what if any, long-term benefits. So we are not going to be able to answer that question if that's your concern. We won't be able to answer it in a short-term study, right? These folks who've gotten vaccinated will then be probably put into another observational cohort where they're followed over time. We will just have to rely on our experience with vaccinations generally, in the history of vaccines generally. And I would say, generally speaking, vaccines are safe, and we haven't seen any long-term effects in the majority of people who get them. Doesn't mean the risk is zero. There's no vaccine trial where you see zero risk, but the risk is certainly, generally speaking, low enough that we've deemed them safe. But yeah, I think part of what scientists are going to have to do first, I mean, if this vaccine even works, we don't have that answer yet. If it seems to work, we'll have to really get out front of the politicians and try to answer these very important questions for folks. I think they, you know, probably will require healthcare workers to get them. I would imagine that all institutions of healthcare will require its employees to have this vaccine, like we are required to have the flu vaccine at a lot of health facilities. So I am, you know, probably going to be on, you know, one of the first groups of people, right, to receive it. And so we'll get more data on a number of folks outside of the clinical trials very soon. Yeah.
All right, well, Doc, when you get the vaccine, make sure you call me. So when you get it, you fine. I'll go right.
I'll be like, I live.
Yeah, exactly. So, Dr. Turpin, that boy Rod, you want to touch on your next point?
I do, and this is more so, for lack of a better term, I'm gonna play devil's advocate right now, and I never use that term, but I can't think of another way to play it. And this question is more so an educator question. So Kim and Rebecca, the question is more so for you. A lot of people are advocates for students staying home right now, which means we're going to be in a virtual or digital world of learning right now. But I want to look at the flip side because of a story that was brought to my attention earlier today. It was a fifth grade teacher on a Zoom call with some 10th grade students, and one of the students had a domestic situation in his household, and the teacher heard it. She muted all the kids, but the kid's mother was shot on that Zoom call in the class while class was going on. So while the kids did not hear it, they saw the commotion, and a fragment hit his computer, and thank God blacked out the screen so they couldn't see everything that was going on. But it leads me to, it made me think of this from a whole nother perspective. What are schools to do when there are domestic situations, when there are parents who can't be home with their kids, so the oldest student in that household has to take care of the younger student, and then there are still some cases where there are technology issues where parents don't have technology in their homes. As educators, how do you respond to that?
So I'll say this first. I'm not an educator, so I commend them. I'm a mother, and I work in corporate America.
Okay.
But what I see is the gap between students is going to get wider in this space, unfortunately. And I think that we're seeing now where a lot of teachers are retiring early.
Yes.
A lot of teachers are just refusing and saying, I'm not going back into the classroom. There's always been, I believe, a shortage of substitute teachers. So it's hard to fill those gaps. So you're going to have situations where you have teachers who are in situations where they're not necessarily experienced, and they're maybe teaching classes where they're not experienced, but because you don't have anyone to stand in the gap, you got to do what you got to do because the show must go on. So I think that school districts have it's an uphill battle, I think, and unfortunately we don't have strong enough leadership from the top down that has the capability to roll out a plan that works nationally or even at the state level, and then it trickles down into the local level. But it's scary, honestly. I'm not an educator, so I have no idea what that feels like and what that anxiety is like. But as a parent, where I look at my different family members or friends, and we're all in different situations, and the gap is widening, and these situations and scenarios are real. And I don't know. My anxiety is through the roof, so I don't know.
Well, I apologize. I remember you did say you worked in business, and I got mixed up from when you said you was going to be home wearing all those hats. I was like, let me answer the question.
If you feel anxiety, Kim, just drink some Merlot. You'll be all right.
They should be asleep. She gonna fall asleep on the job.
That's my dog. Listen, Miss Arriaga, piggyback off of that, and Rob made a good point. With all that's going on in our communities, you're a parent coordinator. You see it firsthand. I mean, you've seen situations where kids have, of course, been shot, or situations have happened in the neighborhood, and kids may come to you, or the parents may come to you.
So the first thing I wanted to mention is that in terms of technology, so about 95% of our students right now do have either a laptop or a tablet. The tablets are for our kindergartners, and then everyone else has Chromebooks. And
those were donated by the school district, correct?
Yes. So those were donated to the school district. Good job,
Kansas City. Good job.
So those were donated to the school district. In terms of hearing anything negative as far as when a student is on a Zoom call, if a teacher sees anything, I have not heard. Obviously, thankfully, not to the extent of how he had mentioned. The only other thing, and also, so there are students that we know that are high schoolers that may have to take care of the younger ones.
Right.
So that is also something that I hear from our parents as well. Right. Their high schooler has to take care of the younger one, and then so on and so forth.
I'm gonna ask Dawn a question, Rod. I just gotta ask this question. Dawn, when it first happened and your kids were on quarantine at home, and you were at home, even were there moments where the older kids, I think your 13-year-old had to help the 8-year-old and 6-year-old? Was she helpful?
From what I heard from the teachers, they were kind of thrown into this, so it wasn't it wasn't so structured as supposedly it's supposed to be now.
Right.
So I was able to, you know, I was able to go to work and then come home and then do I'm not going to lie, I probably did most of my third grade. I probably did most of her work when she did go back to school. I passed third grade for her, but
yeah.
You know, I mean, I know
It happens.
you know, at one point, you know, I'm tired. You know, so stressed out and stuff from work. So I did most of her stuff, but yeah, there's a lot of, and you know, I'm prepared if they're going to go, if they are going to go all virtual. My older ones are prepared. Like, you're going to have to get the kids on, you know, and that's just the way it's going to be, you know. Hey,
Dawn, quick question. I know Kim has. Have you had one of those moments where you told your child, you know, sit your ass down?
Yeah.
You've had those moments?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You look like you had one. You look like you had one tonight. Like you. Like, see, y'all don't know. We know Dawn. She's being shy right now because the other night we was on a Zoom call for his birthday, and she was all happy. Now she want to be all professional, whatever the case may be. But go ahead. Hey, Ron. Let me do this quick drop. This is the Doc Dunce podcast show. Hold on. Oh, let me try that again. You got it. My producer gonna have to edit that out. I've been sipping that Merlot. Here we go. This is the Doc Dunce podcast show.
At home.
Go ahead, Ron. Tell them where they can find us.
You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook.
Subscribe now.
All right, so we have a segment on our show, and if you know the late, great, Notorious Big, he wrote a song back in the day. Check it out. He wrote a song called I Got a Story to Tell. So you may not have a story to tell about COVID-19. We don't want to keep it doom and gloom, but we definitely want you to tell a story maybe based upon your educational experience, your experience as far as what you've gone through as far as this whole quarantine with your children or just everyday life. I know a lot of y'all may have come across some Karens and some Kens and some Susans in a Walmart or a Target. You know, it's real out here, man. This quarantine life is crazy, man. I don't know, but you know, we definitely appreciate the fact that you guys came on. But if anybody got a story that they want to tell as far as what they experienced these past 6 months, feel free. Don't all talk at once. Oh, y'all quiet?
Oh, wow. Any story? One story?
Yeah.
I have two stories, but I'll pick a good one and a not so good one. Okay. So early in the quarantine where everything was shut down, people had not been driving for a long time. Roads were, you know, pretty clear. Elderly people were staying home. My husband was walking across the street, and this elderly woman decided for some reason she needed to go somewhere and hit him. So we experienced that early on, and I had to come to the scene and like tourniquet his ankle, and we got, you know, it was pretty horrific. He's okay now, off of crutches. So that's
right.
like
Take care of your man during quarantine. Take care of your man during quarantine. That's right.
But then like they wouldn't let me into the hospital. And I'm like, what do you mean? I put my badge on, I could enter. And it was just this whole hullabaloo. So I really feel for folks who had to deal with illness with their family members and not being able to be there by their bedside. I mean, I did get in, but that's not the experience for everybody. And I guess the good story is that just seeing the generosity of people during this pandemic. So there's a group, Black Doctors COVID-19, that was started by Dr. Stanford. She's a surgeon, a pediatric surgeon. And this group, she started to just test Black people in the community because not only are we dying at higher rates from this COVID, we also haven't been tested as we needed to be. So she started this, and I was able to go out and volunteer with her team in the community, and just really just generous spirit and being able to give back in some way. So that was a pretty cool story.
That was beautiful. I know they did that at Enon Church in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's my church.
Yeah, okay. All right, then. Hey, Doc, don't you go there? You ain't gonna be shy like you don't go to church.
Yes.
You a heathen now? I know I'm a heathen. But
I ain't saying that.
You ain't got to be a heathen. Anyone else got a story they want to tell during quarantine?
So
Kim, I know you got a story. Or who got a story? Rebecca, you got a story?
I have a story. So
okay.
One of the things that I've learned throughout this whole COVID situation is that children are very brave. We don't give them as much credit as, you know, as we should. one of the blessings that was just so, it was just so overwhelming for me is the amount of love that my parents have for me, and I'm very blessed to have that relationship with them.
Right.
I've had students send me letters. I hope you're okay. The virus, drawing like little viruses and those things, and parents sending me videos of the children saying hi, and just those different things. It just lets me know that that I am very blessed and that I am walking in my purpose.
Do you miss your children? Do you miss your students?
I do. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah. So that's
I definitely do.
I think all teachers that I've spoken to, like, even though at times we can't stand our kids, we definitely miss them and love them. You know what I'm saying? Just the interaction. I think that's probably the difficult as far as things that I've heard. I mean, I never liked my kids when I was teaching. No, but in all seriousness, I think that, and I know you, Rebecca, personally, I know that, it's definitely heartfelt. And of course, we commend you for the job that you do. So see, I finally gave you some props. You know what I'm saying? I finally gave you some props. Anybody else got a story? Dawn, you ain't got no story? Dawn being shy. We gonna.
I have a funny story. My little one and her best friend, they're like a couple months apart. My daughter's Eva, her best friend's Ava. So they talk on FaceTime or whatever because they can't see each other.
Okay.
What do you want to do? They're like, oh, Ava, what do you want to do? We're gonna play doctor. Okay, we're gonna play doctor. Okay, what's wrong? My sister got the Rona. Yes, they put it on and they pretend they got it's hilarious. We sit back there and we crack up.
That's beautiful. Like Rebecca said, they know what's going on. They're definitely aware of the community. They're definitely aware of what's going on in society. I'm gonna tell a story for Kim. Kim, you gonna tell your story?
No, you go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna mess with it. I'm not messing with you. I'm just messing with you. But Doc, you got a story?
Who, me?
Yeah. No.
I do, but yeah, I ain't gonna tell it though.
Okay, all right then. Well, so listen, just real quick, I could say during this quarantine time for me, it made me, and I'm not gonna get all mushy, but it really made me appreciate my wife more. One of the things that I'll say, she's been home, and I'm not used to her being home. So initially it was fun. It was fun. Then after a while, I was like, this shit is, man, listen, somebody got to go back to work because I can't be in the house with you all day. But I think, in all honesty, it really made me appreciate not just her, but it made me appreciate, and I don't mean to be corny, but life. You know what I'm saying? Because, Kim knows, like, we've lost a few frat brothers since her husband's a bruh. We lost a few friends and things of that nature. So it just makes you appreciate life. And of course, just honestly, the everyday thing. I don't know if y'all can see, but I'm wearing my grilling hat because I haven't been to a barbecue yet. Don't nobody want to have no barbecue. Nobody want to social distance. I mean, they like, well, we can't have no barbecue and really social distance. So I'm just wearing my barbecue hat just because I miss being at a barbecue during the summer.
Do you have the barbecue sandals on too?
No, I got a pedicure. I got a pedicure, so my feet are out. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I do got a story to tell, but I'm gonna let Kim go first. Yeah.
So I'll share. So we actually in the first week of all of this, I lost a really close friend, and he was one of, like, I think the first 5 to pass away here in Detroit. And so it became very real for us very fast. So I think, to Sharif's point about appreciating family and that time, there are times when I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. But when I start to feel that way, I do think, I'm thankful that I'm safe at home and not stuck at home. And I do think about, when will we ever have this much time to spend with each other as family? And, so that's been a good thing. And then the other thing too, I have been hemming and hawing about, I need to get in shape. I need to lose weight. And I hate the way, and as I'm eating cookies, cakes, and everything else in between. But now we are, with my girlfriend, I'm here in Michigan, but my friends are in New Jersey, and we've been working out from, I think, like the 2nd or 3rd week since it happened, and we get together on Zoom and we work out, and it's become, it's now been extended. We got some other friends in there that none of us have ever met, except on Zoom. And so it's just become a little safe space for us we got something else to think about other than, turning on the news, and we start our day with health and wellness and fitness, and seeing the results is great. Yes. So it's been good.
They trying to get snatched, Rod. They said they want their summer bodies to go to waste. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I don't blame them at all.
You know what I'm saying? They want to be snatched. So, well, we thank y'all for that.
Oh, wait, I ain't get to tell my story, man.
Oh, my fault. Go ahead.
Sorry, y'all. Real quick. So, as much as I hate this pandemic and being shut down, one of the things I do appreciate is that you get to see family and spend time with family in a way that you would not have had we never been shut down. So, I mentioned earlier I have a 4-year-old son, and I had the luxury of spending 4 months straight at home with him before he went back to school. So I don't know, I might be like a different type of kid. I never had an imaginary friend when I was a kid, but apparently my wife could relate to the story because she had one. So one of the things that I learned is that he has an imaginary friend, and his friend's name is Ensign. And so, he walks around the house, talk about him and Ensign doing this and him and Ensign doing that. One day I was sitting in the living room, he was in the dining room on the computer, and he was just laughing. And he was like, ha ha, Ensign said something. And I looked at him like, what the fuck? And this kid was like, really, like, you would have thought it was 2 kids in there, which only one was doing all the talking. So anyway, today we go to pick him up from school because we was out running some errands. So we both go pick him up. We're in the car, and, we went through the whole, Colin, how was your day? And things was like, it was good or whatever. Oh, I got to tell you guys something. Ensign has coronavirus. So, of course, we told him, well, Ensign's not allowed in the house. He got to go self-quarantine somewhere. But, of course, by the time 7 o'clock rolled around, Ensign was upstairs chilling in his bed while he was downstairs on the couch. So that's my story to tell. But I just think that's very
awesome.
funny.
That's awesome.
Well, that's our segment for I Got a Story to Tell for the Dr. Dunce podcast. So, listen, I want to thank you guys, or we want to thank you guys for coming on. Not only are you guys instrumental in your communities or in your households, but you're instrumental in the communities. I mean, we always try to give, every episode we try to give good information, relevant information, raw information, but also something that people can take away from when they listen to the show. So I thank you, Doc the Carr. I thank you, Miss Arriaga. I got to roll my R's. Arriaga. I got to thank you, Miss Hoyle, my sister from another mister, and my old school homie for 26 years, Miss Westcott Williams. I thank you, or we thank you, because, like I said, we wanted to bring a good show, but we also wanted to make sure that, like I said, we touched on a variety of things. And, of course, we don't have all the answers, and this is a discussion or a topic that we could, it's going to be talked about for not only for the next few weeks, but probably at least for the next few months with everything that's going on, just from, a health standpoint, a social standpoint, and just the everyday standpoint. So, that's me. Rod, you got something you want to say?
Well, I mean, I think you said it all. I mean, everything that I was going to say, you pretty much said it. But we do appreciate y'all on the behalf of the Dr. Dunce podcast. Your time is valuable. Kim, I saw your son pop up a few times. He's like, Mom, let's go. No, we do appreciate your time. We know it's late. We just hope that you guys stay safe. We appreciate all that you do in the community. Keep doing what you do. We're going to get through this thing one way or the other.
Yes,
and rest in peace, Rob. Rest in peace to the young man, your mentor, your mentee.
Yes, just before you guys came on, I talked about a former student of mine who I lost, we lost after I stopped teaching him, and I was in the process of becoming his mentor, and his life was cut short. He was just outside one day hanging with some friends. He was an innocent bystander that got shot in a drive-by. So I wanted to dedicate this episode to him. I still keep in contact with his mom just to make sure she's good, and I told her some things that I want to do in honor of his name, as I progress through this journey. So. Yeah.
Give the hashtag again, please. Give the hashtag again.
Yes, the hashtag is books or boots. And the reason why they chose that hashtag is because he had 2 options in life, and he definitely stuck with books. His life was trending in the right direction. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see what will have come of him. So
which is an unfortunate story in our city. So thank you, ladies, once again. Listen.
Thank you.
Vote for Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
Kamala Harris. I messed it up, but vote for Kamala Harris. You know what I'm saying? First Black vice presidential nominee. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Making a change in 2020. So power to the people, as we always say. Rest in peace, George Floyd. All right. Peace out. One love.
Good night. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.